Tom, and here joining us today is a special guest named Gabby.
Thanks for having me today, Erica.
Of course, wait, that's your line. Thank you for coming today and talking with us about this case called Brown versus the Board of Education.
Of course, it's a pleasure to be here.
So, Gabby, let's get straight into it. Can you tell us a bit about who was involved in this case?
Yeah, the main justices involved were the Chief Justice, Earl Warren, who made the decision of the case. The plaintiff was Oliver Brown, who was defending his right of the Equal Protections Clause in the 14th Amendment, who he thought was being violated from the school, and then the defendant was the school.
And can you tell us what was the result of this case?
Well, the question being asked was, does segregation of public education in educational facilities actually violate the Equal Protections Clause of the 14th Amendment? And the opinion of the court was that separate but equal educational facilities for racial minorities is inherently unequal, which did violate the Equal Protections Clause. And what's more interesting about this case was that Warren, he didn't make the decision based on court precedent, he made it more on social studies.
Wow, so can you tell us how this case was brought to the Supreme Court and where it took place?
Yeah, it took place in Topeka, Kansas in 1952, and they made a final decision in 1954. It was first argued in a federal district, but with the writ of certiorari, the Supreme Court was able to access the records from past cases, and they were able to review it again, which in turn reopened it again, and so the Supreme Court conferenced about it 3 times and came to a final decision.
So, what was the constitutional issue in this case?
Well, Brown found it in violation of his Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment.
Okay, wow, that's so interesting, Gabby. Now tell us some insight into what the arguments were from these two sides.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot about that. Well, Brown's attorneys argued that segregation in school because of race was harmful to African American children. Their main point was that segregation by law implied that African Americans were inherently inferior to whites, and the board's attorneys from the side argued that separate schools in Topeka were equal in every way, and they were following the court decision in Plessy versus Ferguson, and that they had an equal facility.
So, Gabby, we've heard the facts from this case. Can you tell us your own personal opinion?
Yeah, I think the decision that the court made was actually a good one because it did, in fact, violate Brown's daughter's equal protection right of the 14th Amendment. And I think that depriving a child of something simple as education is really inhumane.
Okay, Gabby, so it looks like our time is actually running out. So, why is this case exactly popular?
It's actually really popular because it struck down the idea of separate but equal, which originally came from Plessy versus Ferguson, which the board was arguing about.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. That's all it says. Okay, thank you, Gabby, for being here today and telling us this information to not only me, but the viewers.
It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Okay, well, that concludes our time today for this segment. Make sure to join us for another juicy segment next time. Now back to you, Tom.